Welcome back to the Light Up Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Peters, and today's episode is extra special because this is officially our 100th episode, and we're celebrating it with a really incredible milestone guest. Joining me today is Kevin Trudeau. He's a multi-billion-dollar businessman, best-selling author. He's an entrepreneur, marketing genius, and spiritual mentor. Kevin has founded over 60 companies and generated over $25 billion in sales while teaching millions of people around the world about success, manifestation, wealth, subconscious programming, and human potential. And this conversation is extra special because I've been following Kevin's teachings for years now. I'm a part of his Gin community. I've done quite a few of his processes, and I was just on the Gin cruise back in January of this year. So, Kevin, it's such a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know all that stuff about you. So did you like the cruise? I mean, that was an
Yeah.
exciting time. 2,200 of our members owning the ship for the entire week and the private island for the day. That was all ours exclusively. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was such an incredible experience. I love how everyone was like-minded. And I mean, you can go up to anyone and have a conversation, and everyone is just so smart and has a vision and they know exactly where they're going in life, which you don't find very often.
Yeah, it's really an organization of winners. And that's really it, because one of the biggest secrets of success that really no one talks about, you can't really find this in very many books, is that is your income is always going to be the average of your 5 best friends. And this is really critical. The question I would pose to everyone is, who do you spend the most time with? Unfortunately, it's usually our family or our coworkers. I mean, those are the people that we actually physically spend the most time with in their physical presence or talking to. That's a big challenge because our family, unless you're, part of the Rockefellers or the Kennedys or something, our families are not motivated, inspired, entrepreneurial people. And our coworkers don't have dreams or goals, and they don't want to better themselves. They're very comfortable at where they're at. If you're surrounding yourself and spending time with people that don't have big dreams, that don't want massively more out of life, who aren't focusing on spiritual awakening and things, you can't rise into that area if that's something you seek. You have to associate with and spend time with people that also have goals and dreams, that have higher incomes than you, that have better attitudes than you, then are winners. If you want to be a winning anything, a tennis player, whatever, you better start hanging around winning tennis players instead of all the guys who lose all the time. You start hanging around the winners and start talking to them and going to dinner with them, the guys who win all the championships. That's how you rise up. You virtually become like the people you spend the most time with. That's very critical. And that's why that club, Jen, that you're a member of, the Global Information Network, is such a mysterious secret ingredient to success, because it allows you to meet and develop relationships with like-minded, motivated, inspired, entrepreneurial people that have a great attitude, that want more out of life, generally are pretty affluent and making a lot of money, some making tens of millions a year, some making millions a year, but all wanting even more. And when you plug into that type of community and start spending time with these type of people that are talking about private jets and Ferraris and Bugattis, and I just bought a Bugatti and I just did this, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden your mind starts expanding and you go up too, because all boats go up on a rising tide. And this is a real critical success secret. So I would suggest anybody listening, who do you spend the most time with? When we were kids, Samantha, Mom, who we hated, always said it to us. You hang around those bums, you're going to turn out just like them. Well, she was exactly correct. If you hang around the pot smokers, you're going to start smoking pot. You hang around all the cigarette smokers, you start smoking cigarettes. You used to hang around all the athletes, you're playing sports. You hanging around we call them the eggheads, the brains who are studying because they want to go to college. Then you start studying and doing better on tests as well. Whoever you spend the most time with, that's who you become. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So everybody should be thinking about that.
Yeah, that is so valuable. And I had to do that growing up. My father was very toxic. He was an alcoholic. Both of my parents were on Social Security disability. So I had to seek mentors externally. And I had to, like you said, surround myself with people who had what I wanted. And it showed me what's possible in my own life. And if you just continue to hang out with your family and friends that you've always been around, then your life isn't going to change too much. And I'm curious to know, looking back on your journey, Kevin, what were some of the early experiences or realizations that made you understand the power of the mind, wealth creation, and then human potential?
Well, when I was very young, I had the ability to see energy right from the moment I was born, and I didn't think that this was anything unusual. We see with our eyes. Our eyes only pick up reflections of light. Now, that's important because our eyes only pick up a small spectrum of light. If I had a bat sitting next to me who spoke English, he would say that he can see more than you and I can see because his eyes pick up a larger spectrum. We smell only a small spectrum of molecules. If I had a dog friend here talking, he can smell a lot more than you and I can smell. He can also hear more than you and I can hear because his ears pick up a higher spectrum of frequency. When you blow a dog whistle, there's no sound, but the dog hears it. So, what we actually experienced with our physical senses is incredibly small. It's not the universe. It's not even the world. It's not our reality. It's that limited amount that we actually perceive through our senses. So when I was very young, I could see outside. Example, if you shut off all the lights and it's pitch black, you see nothing because your eyes are only picking up a reflection of light. If there's no light, everything is black, it's invisible, everything vanishes. If you turn all the lights off and it's pitch black, there's nothing there. Everything vanishes because your eyes are only picking up reflections of light. If there's no light, there's nothing there. But with me, I still see everything because the self, the spiritual essence that you are, isn't seeing through the eyes. It's perceiving on a different dimension, which is energy. Everything is energy. Everything in the room you're in is, at the end of the day, simple atoms. It's all the same, just different clusters, different combinations, but it's all atoms, different densities. When you go into these dimensions, you can actually see energy. So I knew this. This is how I instantly knew a thought is a thing. So if you think something, I see the energy move. Well, if you think a happy thought, all of a sudden things start being attracted and start moving into your direction. And they start forming actually mass, which will become something physical in your life. If you have a negative attitude, you start repelling things or start creating horrible things in your life. I could see it. So right from the beginning, I realized that thinking, a thought, is an actual thing. You become what you think about most of the time. This is why when you hang around people, you start thinking like them. That's why you become like them. So if you hang around rich people, you're going to become rich. There's no way around it because you start thinking like the people around you. And as you think, that's what you actually become.
Absolutely. That is so valuable. And I know you've built over 60 companies and you've generated billions of dollars in sales without a college degree, inheritance, or just traditional connections. So, what do you think actually separates people who create extraordinary results from those who just stay stuck?
Well, I learned all of the pieces of the puzzle, and the puzzle is entitled Total Success in Life. I didn't invent anything, I didn't discover anything. All I did, I was taught how to become successful. I was given a 40-point algorithm or a 40-step algorithm or 40 pieces of the puzzle. And I was told, this is it. There's nothing else. And if you do this and this, and you take these pieces of the puzzle and put them all together, and follow them in sequence, you get a result. We didn't call it manifesting. That is the new age today hippie word that we love to use, right? We're going to manifest. What we used to call it is how to set a goal and achieve it, or how to create the life you want, or how to build wealth. Now, think about those words: how to set a goal and achieve it. That gives you the image of you actually do something. Or how about this one? How to create the life you want. I have to create it. If it is to be, it's up to me.
Mm.
or I'm going to build wealth. Well, if you're going to build a sandcastle, you actually have to do something. But now if I say, I want to manifest wealth, what does that give you a picture of? You just sit and go, oh, money's going to come into my lap. Let's smoke another joint. Right. That's not how it works. I was taught how it really works. And here's what people will get annoyed with this. Well, I talked to this guy and, he made $500,000 last year. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. He's making a lot of money. Or this guy here, he made $1 million last year. And I said, yeah, when are you going to tell me about somebody who's rich? And let me put that in perspective. Back in the 1900s, 1910, 1920, 1930, if you were a millionaire, then you were considered rich. In today's dollars, that means you would have to have $100 million cash in the bank. So how many people out there teaching success have $100 million cash in the bank? Let me tell you something, zero. So they don't know success. They know about it, and it all sounds good. But they haven't generated billions. They haven't put that cash in the bank, earning interest, living total financial freedom, financial independence, because you have 100 million or more cash in the bank. You're living on $10 million a year income without working, because just on dividends and interest. That's wealth. And unless you've achieved that, you don't qualify to even teach anything on how to create and make a lot of money. Because what you've done is you've figured out something that works for you. And you think, because you're delusional, you think that this is the system that'll work for everybody. No, it's what works for you. You look at golfers, there's a golfer like Scotty Sheffield. He's number one on the PGA Tour. Scotty Scheffler. He's the number one golfer. If you try to duplicate his swing, you will be the worst golfer on the planet. His swing is so crazy. He moves his feet, he jumps up and down. Same thing like Bubba Watson. If you try to duplicate that and say, well, that's what the number one guy's doing, let me duplicate it, it won't work for you. It works for him and his body. Same thing with any type of, musician or athlete. The way they do things works for them. It's not a duplicatable thing that can work for everything. Same thing with making money. If a guy makes $500,000 a year or $1 million a year because they've done a few things, the stars lined up. It worked for them, but now they're teaching this is what you do. I was in Harvard University. A friend of mine was going to college there. He was the quarterback of Harvard. And he said, Kevin, you're making all this money. This is decades ago. You're making all this money. I'm in Harvard Business School. You should come in and audit one of the business classes. I go, man, I would love to. I don't know anything. My dad was a welder. I don't know anything about making money. I'm just happen to be making, tens of millions of dollars a year, but I don't know how to do it. I was taught this thing, but I never really followed somebody who's successful. So I went to Harvard Business School, and the guy gets up there, the professor, and he says, there's 5 things you have to do in business. And he says, number one, and I'm going, I never do that. So I'm writing it down. I never do that. Oh my God. I'm not. And he goes, there's 5 things you should never do in business. And I go, oh my God, I do that all the time. Oh no, I do that all the time. And then I was so impressed. I'm like, I'm doing everything backwards. So I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, I'm really impressed with your lecture. What type of business do you own? And he says, well, I don't own a business. Oh, I see. So you've sold your companies and now you're financially independent. What type of businesses did you own? He goes, I've never owned a business. I said, well, what qualifies you to teach this class? He goes, well, I have a PhD in business administration. I go, and you learned it from people who also never owned a business.
Mhm.
I go, you know something? I made $10 million last year doing everything exactly opposite of what you just said. If I follow your advice, I would go bankrupt. Thank you very much. And I walked out of the room and everybody applauds, all the students. So people out there think they know how to achieve success, but they really don't. They're guessing. I would suggest, and you know this because you've gone through some of the training in my newest book, Your Wish is Your Command. Listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. That's who you really should be following. Learn from everyone. The wise man learns from the fool, but the fool doesn't even learn from the wise man. So yes, you learn from everyone, but you listen and take the advice and follow people that have what you want and have been where you are.
I agree with that. Like you mentioned before, you can't manifest and just visualize what you want. You have to take the action step towards that. And I know a lot of people do the techniques, they see the affirmations, they visualize every day, and their life still doesn't change that much. What do you think is the factor that's inhibiting that for them?
There's two major factors if you look at what's stopping a person from succeeding. Number one is they're not applying the recipe properly. And most people, when you ask them, what is the recipe or what's the basic formula for achieving success? They can't even tell you. They can't tell you clearly define what I don't want, find out what I'm disgusted with, clearly define what I do want, write it down, see myself in possession of it, feel now as if I actually had it, and then release attachment to the outcome. That's the basic formula. And most people can't even recall that. I mean, I just rattled it off by memory, right? But no, most people can't even do that. And if you want to achieve success, you have to know that formula like you know your own name. And 90% of the people don't. And they're just not following the formula properly. But even if they are to some degree, they should see results, but they don't because of two major factors. Number one, they have counter intentions in their field. Counter intentions is probably the biggest not known critical element that determines success or failure. It is something that almost nobody knows, but I was taught it. Your ancestors, if they believe something really strongly, it's in your DNA. We know that now. Science knows that. If your ancestor had trauma, they went to a concentration camp in Nazi Germany and they survived, but they had the trauma of that, it's in your DNA. If they were highly religious and they believed that the money is the root of all evil and rich people go to hell, you have to be poor to go to heaven. If that's what their religious belief is, it's in your DNA. And if it's in your DNA, you have a counter intention. You say, I want to make money. I want to make money. I want to make money. But you have this vibration going, no, you don't, because you're going to go to hell. You want to be
Mhm.
poor because you want to go to heaven. Money's the root of all evil. So you have these counter intentions. You have to eliminate the counter intentions. If you come from a wealthy family, when it comes to money, you don't have counter intention on money because it's there. You have three pillars in your DNA, and that is money is good. And most people have in their DNA or even in their own memories a postulate that money inherently is bad and bad people have money and it's bad to have money. That's what we really believe. And we even know this now at survey. You ask people, is it good to have millions of dollars? 80% of people say no. It's bad. It's actually bad. They actually, on the survey, they write it out. It's bad. It's bad. They don't like money. They think it's bad. So this is in your field, in your memory, either consciously or subconsciously. How can you make money if you have this subconscious vibration that money itself is bad, it's evil, it's the root of all evil? No, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil, not money. You can do some wonderful things with money. The second pillar is that you deserve money. Most people think, I am not good enough. I am not worthy. I don't deserve it. This is in our DNA. I'm not smart enough. I didn't come from the right family. I don't have the right connections. I don't deserve to have money. Most people have in their DNA from their parents an honest day's work, and you are entitled to an honest day's pay. Anything more than that, you're stealing. So how can a guy go to work all day and make his $200 or $500 for the day? That's honest. But if that guy spends 2 hours a day figuring out how to make some money on the computer and market something and makes $10,000 today, he's stealing. That's not even honest. So you don't deserve the money. You don't deserve it. You didn't work hard. And if you work hard, you're only entitled to, and you only deserve a small amount. That's the difference between broke mentality and wealth mentality. Wealth mentality says, no, I deserve making $100,000 a day for an hour's worth of work in front of a computer. I deserve it because I'm added value into society. I'm giving people a valuable item or service. There's an even exchange. As a matter of fact, there's an exchange in abundance. They give a little, I give actually more. I'm increasing and adding value to society. I deserve that money. Most people don't have that. And then the third one, which is very fascinating, most people have in their DNA a subconscious belief that money is not safe to have. If I have money, I'm at risk. I'm at risk from losing my friends. If I have money, I'm gonna lose my friends. My family's gonna I won't be able to trust anybody because people will think I'm probably gonna be taken advantage of. I might be robbed. It's scary. I don't wanna have money. I'll lose friends. I don't know who to trust anymore. I'll be isolated. I'll be all alone. I'm scared to have money. It's not safe to have money. That's in your DNA from your parents and grandparents and so forth. When it was unsafe to have money, before banks, if you had some gold in your house, you were nervous that some bandits were gonna come by and rob you to take the gold. But now it's perfectly safe to have money. None of these things are even true, but it's a belief, and therefore it repels money. So the counterintentions repel money. That's huge. Then the second reason people fail. So the first one is they have counterintentions. Well, the first one is they're not following the recipe. Number two is they have counterintentions. The third reason people fail is they have failure habits. Successful people live their life with success habits. They do things unconsciously, competently. They live their life on autopilot and they do things automatically. They follow success habits. There's a great book by one of the richest men in the world, actually, the richest man in the world at the time when he wrote it, called How to Be Rich by J. Paul Getty. And he has a whole chapter on habits. And he says successful people have success habits, failures have failure habits. Successful people may have a habit of being on time, where the loser has a habit of being late. It's just a habit. And so they have a habit of saying the wrong thing or speaking when they should be listening or not taking action and just procrastinating. Procrastination is a habit. It's
Mm,
just a habit. You can list 100 failure habits and you can say, do you do any of these? Check them off. Well, if you do 5 or more, you're going to have a hard time making money. There's 100 of them. Most people have 50 or 60 or 70 that they say yes. And then you give that same list to a guy who's worth $100 million and say, check off on this list of 100 habits. Which one do you have? And he looks and goes, none. Because that's why he's making so much money. He doesn't do any of these things. He doesn't
mm,
procrastinate. He takes action now.
wow.
When he gets knocked down, he doesn't get depressed. He gets fired up.
Mm,
When somebody says no or a disaster strikes in the business, do you automatically get depressed? Or no, that's a habit. The winner says, no, I get mad. I don't get depressed. If business turned around, if we got a lawsuit, if the plant burned down or whatever, I don't get depressed. I get mad as hell and I am going to attack. And that's a winning habit. You get mad and take massive and immediate action and you attack and you start making things happen.
such a great point. I want to go back to the counter intention. So I know I've done quite a few of your processes and I felt so much lighter because the energy was transmuted. But for anyone listening to this, what is something else that they can do to just be able to neutralize that counter intention so they don't have all of the weight of their ancestors and their DNA that's holding them back?
Yeah. We neutralize it through a series of processes, which is what was delivered to me, and that I was trained on how to deliver it. And I was in palaces around the world with royal families and billionaire families working on their kids and handling any counter intentions in the DNA and also in their memories. If they had traumas in their memories from this lifetime and even previous lifetimes, and we cleared that out. But what can the average person do? The average person has to, number one, increase their level of awareness that they have some invisible force pushing against them. You have to feel this. Sometimes you call it a glass ceiling, or sometimes you just feel like there's a headwind, like you're swimming upstream. You're trying to make money, but you feel like there's some invisible force going against you. That's a counterintention. First, I would tell people increase your awareness. You have to be awake. You have to be aware. You have to sense this feeling. And when you sense it, that's the first thing to overcome it. And when you sense it, now you have to use a magic word, which is not used today in any manifesting circles because they don't like it. It's called willpower.
Hmm.
The power of your will. Now, let me give you a very, very powerful statement. The universe will always yield to your will. The universe will always yield to your will. Your will, the power of your willpower can overcome anything. This is why the phrase success is a decision away is mathematically and scientifically true. Because when you say, I'm going to do it, that's it, period. Nothing is going to stop me. The whole universe crumbles and actually opens every door and comes to your aid because they go, we have to submit. Because the person, you are the creator of your universe. You're the master of your life. And when you take that authority that is yours, the universe has to yield. It's like you're the king and you say, I now decree. Well, if you were king and you say, I now decree, every knee bows, every head bows, every knee hits the ground. Yes, O king, whatever you decree. We must obey. The universe is the same way. People don't take the power that they have and the authority that they have over their own world. They don't realize just how powerful they are as human beings.
That's so true. I was actually on the news last Friday talking about this too. If you're going through any life change, you just have to make a decision that you want to move forward with your life and stop living by the memories of your past and start visualizing and making goals to create what you want your future to actually look like. So, this is actually a question from one of my audience members. They said, if someone has spent years feeling rejected, if they felt overlooked, they're financially stressed or emotionally hurt, or they're just feeling so exhausted, how do they begin to start believing that they're worthy of something greater before there's any evidence in their reality?
Success is a decision away. So it doesn't matter the past. There's one thing a person has to do. Person's been rejected. A person is in financial difficulty. They got fired from their job. They got rejected in relationships. Their parents, unexpectedly died and they lost that. Their friends all of a sudden is ghosting them and they feel horrible. What do? Well, number one, you can't deny what is. You have to acknowledge how you feel at the present moment. You cannot deny it because when you deny it, you're delusional. So you have to acknowledge fully what it is. Why is that so critical? Because when you acknowledge how you're really feeling and what really is, you are fully confronting it. Whatever you can confront, you can handle. And whatever you can confront can vanish. So confront is key. Absolutely acknowledge how you're feeling and so forth. But you don't live there. Most people live there and that's all they talk about for the rest of their life. And that's just going to be recreated. But
Hmm.
you do that step one for a minute. Then you do step two. Don't resist the feelings. Most people start resisting them. I don't want to feel bad. No, what you resist persists. To acknowledge, don't deny. Number two, don't resist, but actually welcome those feelings. Allow those feelings to come to surface. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel terrible for a minute. And then make a decision to go one step. What most people do is they're depressed and they're trying to become blissfully happy. No. If you're depressed and sad, move up to anger because
Yeah.
that'll move some energy. So you go in gradients up the emotional scale. And this is what a person has to do. You have to go in gradients. If you're deep in debt, don't think, I want to be out of debt. No, you don't. You want to reduce your debt by a little bit. That's your first goal. Okay. There's
Yes.
one other magic ingredient, and that is it's the hardest to take responsibility for how you feel. No one's making you feel that way. You're choosing to take responsibility for your financial condition. Well, it wasn't my fault. Time out. You spent the money. You
Uh,
used the credit card. You put yourself in that. You don't have to beat yourself up, but you have to take responsibility. Look, I was an idiot. I maxed out all my credit cards. I spent money I didn't have. I got a house that was too big. I got an apartment that was too expensive. I got a car that was too expensive that I really couldn't afford. Okay, I got 10 streaming services that I didn't really use. I got the most expensive cell phone plan like a moron instead of getting the cheapest. I go to Starbucks every single day, and then I actually twice a day. You're spending money you don't have, so don't blame anybody else. Every single person in financial difficulties today, I go, come over to my house. Let me sit down, and I'm going to show you that it's you. You caused it, and I'm going to show you exactly how to correct it. And you're not going to like it because it's called live below your means. You
Hmm.
have to live below your means. Successful people live below their means. Jim Carrey said it best. He goes, if you're not willing to cut back on your lifestyle for at least a year or two to have the lifestyle that you want forever, he goes, you'll always be a loser.
So true. Taking radical responsibility is, the first step, like you said. I love that advice. That was amazing, Kevin. So, this is actually one of my questions that I've been wanting to ask you. And for my audience, I think it would be really valuable. In your teachings, you talk about how the brain is a sender and receiver of frequencies. And most people are broadcasting on the beta brainwave state, which is actually affecting their ability to be able to create and manifest the life that they want. So, why is that?
Yeah. Brain broadcasts frequencies. Science knows this. The brain receives frequencies. Science, mainstream science, not even quantum scientists, but actually mainstream physicists know this. It's all true. We all know this. There's devices you can put on your head and it'll show you the brain waves that your brain is actually broadcasting. And what level? Was it gamma? Is it beta? Is it alpha? Is it theta? Is it delta? Well, they're put into 5 categories, but each band is like this big, so there's a big spread in between, right? So the top of, let's say, beta and the bottom, there's a big spread there, but they say it's all beta. Okay, good enough. Because I could see energy when I broadcast on a certain frequency, molecules in the universe actually vibrate stronger. And if you broadcast on another frequency, it's like the universe is not dialed in. So if I'm broadcasting my tower from my radio show on 67 FM and you have the receiver and you turn it to 550 AM, you're not going to hear me because we're on
Oh,
different frequencies. So if you're broadcasting on beta, the universe doesn't hear you. So you can be doing everything right and you're not going to manifest or attract via the law of attraction what you want. You're not going to create the life you want. You can via actions, but it's going to be much more difficult. What wealthy people do, and all the research shows this, when you take people who are multimillionaires, and you put the machine on their head and just track where they're broadcasting their brain all day, most of the time it's right in between. It's at the low end of alpha, at the high end of theta. It's called the billionaire brainwave, or the
yeah.
manifesting wave, or the prosperity wave, or the wealth wave. And you take people who struggle financially and put the same machine on their head, and it tracks for 24 hours where their brain broadcasts. Most of the time, it's in beta. So the question is, well, why is one guy in beta? Why is one guy not? The biggest difference that'll flip you from beta to that wealth wave, the biggest one, is making a decision. The guy who's broke is always waffling. He's unsure. He doesn't have high confidence. He's never really making a decision. He's tipping. He's like, he's half in and half out. He's always fear. He's motivated by, he's afraid. Well, I'll try it, but I can always pull back if it doesn't work out. They never go all in. They're always in fear. The wealthy person doesn't live in fear because he understands that if it is to be, it's up to me and I'm going to make it happen. And there's no consequence. And it's okay if I get knocked down because I'm getting up. See, successful people are not people without problems. They have more problems than anybody else. The difference is they overcome their problems. They're not afraid of problems. And they don't even call them problems. They just call them situations or events or circumstance. And they also understand something, which is in every problem, in every adversity, is the seed of a greater benefit. They know that 100%. J.D. Rockefeller, the richest man who ever lived, and all the rich people, when you look at their story, it was out of some colossal disaster, some huge loss, some huge setback, some huge adversity where they found the golden treasure that took them to the next level of gargantuan success. They understand. J.D. Rockefeller said, every adversity is a gift from the universe, because in it is the biggest blessing you could have. All you have to do is find it. So he never got upset. See, that's the difference. Because of that attitude, they're broadcasting on that wavelength because they're actually at cause over their environment. Where the person who's not making a lot of money, he's at effect from his environment. So he's always being affected by what goes on. He feels bad because that person disrespected me. He didn't call me back. The rich person doesn't feel bad. The poor person may get pissed off and go, I'll never call that guy again. But there's a difference between that. That's an attack energy. He's being at cause over his environment. He's not being a victim.
Mm.
So it's really this attitude difference, which makes all the difference on what frequency you're broadcasting out of your brain.
I'm actually reading a book by Napoleon Hill right now. It's one of his first editions. And he talks about how your setbacks are really your setups, right? And the challenges that you go through actually refine your character and give you the foundational pieces to be able to hold whatever success that you're going to create in the future. I couldn't agree more with what you said. And I know our pineal gland has a lot to do with it. A lot of times it's calcified and it's not allowing us to be able to emit or broadcast on the theta brainwave frequency. So, can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's relatively a new phenomena. The pineal gland, which is right in the center of the brain, is really what connects with the universe. And it helps activate or pull in Einstein, by the way, Einstein, not some spiritual mystic. Einstein talked about the pineal gland and how it allowed him to tap into, he called it the ether and the universal field of consciousness and intelligence. This is Einstein. This isn't some mystic guru from India. That's what he was saying. And he said all the mathematical things he got from the ether. Tesla said the same thing. Thomas Edison said the same thing. Now, these guys didn't know the brain necessarily, that the pineal gland was the key element that had to be vibrating. Well, I can tell you by being in the secret society of the Brotherhood that the powers that be don't want you to tap into the universal field of all intelligence. So doing things like putting fluoride in the water and things that calcify the pineal gland will reduce your ability to do that. So this is a new phenomena, the calcification of that gland. Pharmaceutical drugs as well as over-the-counter drugs do that, calcify it. Surprisingly enough, psilocybin and other psychedelics also mess around with it and reduce it. And that's very fascinating because this is the new thing to get people off the wrong track. They think, oh, if I take a psychedelic, DMT, psilocybin, it's going to activate it. No, no, no. What it does is it destroys it. It actually damages it. So it activates it for a moment, but then it's fried. So it's a perfect setup to keep a person from tapping in on a longer period of time. So when you do this,
Yes.
marijuana goes into the fatty tissue of the brain and dramatically reduces the ability for that pineal gland to be active because it's mostly fat. And therefore, the pineal gland gets loaded with the THC from the marijuana and it accumulates over time. When you smoke marijuana or eat any type of marijuana edible, the body processes some of the drug and gets rid of it, but a lot of it actually stays in the fatty tissue. And then the next time you consume it, it adds to it. And the next time it adds to it. So there's a cumulative effect. So slowly, 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 without you noticing, you
Mhm.
start less cognitive function and less ability to tap into the ether.
Wow, that's
Very, very
fascinating. And I
fascinating.
know you talk also about how fluoride also calcifies your pineal gland. So I've made sure I've removed fluoride from everything.
Well, the big thing with the fluoride is the drinking of the fluoride. That's the number one thing. Look, at the end of the day, if people go to the dentist and they put some fluoride treatment on it once a year, whatever, because it does prevent cavities, and also in the toothpaste. I don't particularly use fluoride for a lot of different reasons because the teeth are actually crystals, and the teeth vibrate and pick up also. The pineal gland is not the only thing that taps into the ether. So even if your pineal gland is 100% calcified, if you still have teeth, you're okay. Now, if all your teeth are gone and you're George Washington with wooden teeth, okay, well then you're in trouble.
That's so funny. So I wanted to ask you to wrap this up. What is the sweet spot between having a strong desire for something while also trusting in a higher plan or divine timing? And how do we know which path we're truly meant to follow?
Well, The first one is interesting because we don't live in any of these states. We visit them. When you go through your day, one of the myths is all day long feel good. All day long be thankful and appreciative and gratitude. Have the attitude of gratitude all day long in every situation. Be grateful because then the universe is going to give you more things to be grateful for. This is a myth. You have to do that, but you can't be it all day long. If you get in your crappy car and you go, I'm so thankful and grateful for the car, why would the universe give you a new one? If you look at your credit card bills and they're all maxed out, I'm so thankful and grateful that my credit card statements and my balances are all maxed out and I can't pay my bills. I'm just so thankful and grateful. Why is the universe going to change anything? You have to say, I am not going to accept this. You have to get pissed off. So the balance is that you go through all the steps from what disgusts you, what will you not tolerate anymore, knowing exactly and clearly defining what you do want, writing it down, seeing yourself in possession of it, and feeling now as if you did have it. And if you felt like you actually had what you wanted, you'd feel great, but you don't live there either. And then release attachment to the outcome. And that's the surrender to the universe. If this never happens, it's perfectly okay. And maybe you got something better for me anyway. And maintaining that
Exactly.
good state. But then a few minutes later, an hour later, you go back to getting disgusted. I'm fed up with this. I'm not going to take it anymore. And then you go through that cycle, this creation cycle throughout the day. And there's 40 parts in the algorithm, like the words you use and how you move your body. And there's a whole bunch of other elements as well. But that's where the balance is. The balance is you have to do all of it and you have to repeat this cycle throughout the day so that it's a dance. You're engaged in the play of consciousness and the dance of creation.
I love that dance of creation. That's so good. All right, so to wrap this up, I always like to do a fun this or that challenge. So, whatever comes to your mind first, are you ready?
Oh my gosh, yeah, okay. Trey, I'm all nervous over here. What are we gonna do?
All right, so would you rather go back and relive your 20s with all the knowledge that you have right now, or instantly wake up tomorrow morning with $10 billion?
Well, I'd go back in my 20s with everything I know. And I'm Back to the Future. Are you kidding me? Because I'd make 100 billion. No,
Hmm.
I try. I'd make a trillion. Knowing what I know now, I go back to the 20s. I'm a trillionaire at this age. I'm way ahead of Elon Musk.
I love that. All right. So, for anyone listening to this, would you suggest money processes or relationship processes if they had to choose one?
You can't get it wrong. I would tell a person to do what resonates with them. If money is really what they're focusing on and that's really what they're is in the front of their head, work on money processes because it's really creation. Remember when you go through money processes, we work on the sex chakra, which is the creation chakra, because making money is an expression of the creative energy. Just like sex is an expression of creative energy as well. So when you work on money, you get a little fall over into relationships. And when you work on the relationships, you get a fall over into money. That's why they're very connected. So I would tell somebody to do whatever resonates, knowing that you can't get it wrong.
Hmm. Okay. Private island or private jet?
Private jet.
Dinner with Elon Musk or Donald Trump?
Well, I met them both, so that doesn't count.
If you had to say you wanted dinner plans tonight, which one would you choose to go to dinner with?
That's a really good question. I would go with the president of the United States.
Yes, I would have to agree with that.
But that's a coin flip. But that's a coin
That's
flip.
a hard one, isn't it?
That's a coin flip. Yeah. But the reason I said that, in case he's listening, I want to make sure I'm on his good side.
Yeah, you never know. He might be listening. And the last one. So, are you a morning person or are you more of a night owl?
I'm definitely not a night owl unless I need to be, and then I am the best night owl you could ever imagine with energy until the sun comes up. But that's definitely not my default. And I'm also not a super morning person. I'm not a 5 o'clock guy. I go to bed around 10 o'clock. I wake up around 6.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely, when you have your seminars, you're up pretty late. I can
Yes.
definitely attest to that. All
Yeah.
right. So before we wrap up, for anyone listening to this that wants to dive deeper into your teachings, your community, your programs, and everything that you're building, where can they connect with you to learn more?
Well, as you know, the newest book is called Your Wish is Your Command, How to Manifest Your Desires. It's on Amazon, but I would go to kevintrudeau.com, kevintrudeau.com. Everything that we offer is available there. You can go around, click on different buttons and see all the different things we have available and see if there's anything of interest. It also shows you about my YouTube show, Kevin Trudeau Limitless, and all the other places I'm on social media, et cetera.
Perfect. We will definitely put that in the show notes for everyone so they can listen, and highly recommend reading Your Wish is Your Command. I've listened to it several times. And for all of you listening to this, we're sending you so much love and light.